Well, hi there. Welcome, welcome. I wanted to do a little bonus reading specifically for the solstice. So for us in the Southern Hemisphere, we've got the winter solstice coming up. Um, and for you guys up north, peak of summer coming. How exciting. So I won't worry too much about which solstice it is because it's going to be opposite information. But I wanted to do a reading anyway, just so we can work towards what this peak moment is about for all of us. Now, I hope you all got your monthly readings. We did it as a live stream this month, so a little bit of a different scenario, but I did timestamp everybody's sign in there, so I hope you found that. I'm going to be very careful with this burning of the herbs situation. I made a video recently where I burnt my hand, and I didn't edit it out. I just left it in there just for you guys to enjoy. So let's delve into, I'm actually switching up my herbs a little bit too. I do frankincense most of the time, but I just wanted to add some sandalwood today. It smells divine, just to give us a slightly different framework. It's very earthy, and I really wanted that earthy tone, not just that super high vibration. So sometimes that helps me to anchor in to make sure that the beautiful messages from spirit are also quite grounded and we can make them tangible. It's all well and good to talk about all the frequencies and all the 5Ds and all the things, but it means nothing if we can't actually implement it into our lives. So that's a very earthy concept. I've been working on the earth element for quite a long time. I generally work on the earth element for most of my clients for a long time as well. I think with what's going on in our world, it can be really hard, or harder and harder, to feel grounded and to do those basic things like look after yourself and tend to your 3D world and tend to your spiritual garden, so to speak. So I'm going to go a little bit further into the tarot and make sure I have a feeling that we need a lot of shadow aspects as we come to this peak moment in our year. And hoping this resonates with you all, no matter what sign, no matter what person, no matter what chapter that you're in. I've already asked my divination guide to scan who needs the message and to find them efficiently so that the message hits frequency points for you all. All right, so starting out, I'll make sure they're visible for those of you that read. Ace of Cups, very, very cool. So a brand new feeling place, a place where we're trying to understand our feelings and the points of our feelings that are tangible for us. So let's not repress our emotions at this time. Let's get really curious about them. So what emotions have been showing up lately? What have been speaking to me like teachers? Which ones am I likely to stash away, avoid, judge, and bury in my body for later? And which ones have actually been emerging to expand my energy, to expand my awareness, to open me up? And that's not always just the positive ones. Obviously, joy is very opening, but sometimes so is despair, and so is grief, and so is resentment. It can really open up conversations or boxes within us that we can delve into. And particularly when you're doing a lot of the inner work anyway, those emotions become just a very curious and interesting place. They become like signal systems. And if we don't fight them and we don't repress them, the understanding that I have is that they should never have to get to a point where you have a breakdown and where you're completely sidelined and you're thrown under the bus, so to speak, once again. It's inconvenient to feel depressed when you want to feel joyful. However, when depression shows up, best advice I've always been given is show them in as if they're a person, and a person you don't particularly like because they're always so sad. Let them in, give them a seat at the table, give them a cup of tea and say, why are you here? What do you have to teach me? How long are you going to be around? It gets us closer to a surrender point. So the surrender point says, yes, it's inconvenient, and I know your ego doesn't like it, and depression's like torture for a lot of people, and it is a conglomerate of emotions. So my feeling is when depression knocks on the door, it's like a group of 5 or 6 emotions. And I'm not sure if I've been stashing them or avoiding them or just staying busy enough to not really go there. But when they all show up at my door at once, I say, okay, yeah, there's too many of you for me to think that I can outsmart or outwit you. So in comes sadness, in comes loneliness, in comes despair, in comes apathy. They all show up. I give them all a seat at the table and I say, all right, what do you got for me? You might be here longer than what I want you to be, but I will give you a seat at the table and I will do my best to listen to your wisdom. And I hope that it comes at a time where I can actually surrender to it. But that can be the same for anxiety, stress, resentment, jealousy, guilt. These feelings are really ones we're often trying to avoid, and we have a lot of story around them, right? But Ace of Cups tells me there's something in the emotional plane that really needs our attention here, and it might be something that is surprising to you. So something has shown up on your door unexpected. We're going to let that in. Yeah, let it in, give it a seat at the table, clear your schedule a little bit. If a visitor knocked on your door, let's treat them as an important visitor. So every emotion that knocks on your door is important. You don't have to like it. So sometimes a relative knocks on your door and you're a bit surprised. You don't really have the time or the space, but because they're a relative or because you hold them with respect, you let them in and say, okay, not a great time. However, let me put the kettle on and I'm happy to chat to you for a while and I'm happy to clear some space for you. It doesn't mean we need to go overboard and say, I'm going to need the next 3 months off. It's almost like if you do let them in, there is a surrender point in that. If you do let them in and you have a listen to what they have to say, then we shouldn't be prolonging or too long in that emotional plane. But if you've avoided that emotion for years, months, decades, then you might want to look towards, one, why is that emotion so hard for you to accept and let in? And ruminate on the lengths that you'll go to make sure they can't even knock on your door. It's like you can hear them knocking, but you pull the curtains and you're like, nah, can't do that, or too busy, or that's not who I am, or whatever it is. But there's always something divine in the timing. So instead of making it about you, make it about, well, what is this? Why is this so inconvenient? And what is it telling me about what's going on in my life at the moment? And if I was brutally honest with myself, have I let this emotion in with respect ever before? And would I show it the same respect as love, happiness, fulfillment, contentment, joy, elation, euphoria, whatever it is, so that we can have that neutrality with emotion, so we really can understand how we can overflow and experience each emotion purely and witness it without judging it and making up a story. So a lot of people, when they're upset, they tell me all the reasons why. Then I backtrack and I say, I don't really know, or I didn't really ask about why you're upset, but I want to know what you're experiencing. So you don't have to tell me a story about your past or who you are to justify that you're in something that's really uncomfortable. I'm more interested in, when did it show up? How long's it been there? Where do you feel it in your body? What has it been in response to? And what do we know about it? Is it an after effect of something that's happened? Is it something here to tell you about this divine moment and something you need to address? Can you overflow and stay grounded in who you are, even though you're experiencing an emotion that threatens your identity. And if this emotion threatens your identity, then we have a problem. Because if anger shows up and you're so heavily attached to the fact that you're not an angry person and you shouldn't be feeling this, or you tell me about your abusive, angry dad that used to come in and blah, 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 that takes away from the moment of, I'm not calling you an angry person. I'm not convinced of that anyway. Tell me what anger is trying to express to you. Tell me what it's creating. Is it burning bridges? Is it completely changing your frequency inside? Is it a response to what is now done? Will you rise up out of the ashes of that anger? What is it telling you so that you can experience full-blown anger in your body and let it move through you without worrying about who you are, right? And I think that witnessing neutrality is the key, because if I experience resentment over and over again, I still don't have enough evidence to call myself a resentful person unless I'm attached to it. And I can say, yeah, I inherited that from someone and that what happened in my past and no wonder. But when resentment shows up at my door, it wants to be heard for its own entity. It's its own spirit. And here I am making it about me. And resentment's like, I've got so much to teach you, and you're sitting and talking about yourself all the time. Get your ego out of this so that I can actually teach you about this huge amount of information that I have for you. I've got information about your body, your mind, and your spirit, your ancestry, your inheritance, your patterns, everything. But if you sit and dwell in that shouldn't have happened, this isn't a good response, that person caused this, and blaming and shaming everything outside of me or making it about my identity, then I'm missing the point. So when Ace of Cups shows up, it's an invitation to the universe to pay attention to your feelings. What has knocked on the door? I like to name it. These 10 emotions have knocked on my door, very overwhelming. But if there's 10 emotions knocking on the door, it's probably because I've ignored the knocking of all of them showing up in their own timing, and now I have more to deal with. So let it be. If I need to let in 10 and listen to every single one, it's going to take a while. But I can have a cup of tea and a chat with every single one and say, why are you here? What do you have to teach me? How long will you be around for? Is there anything else I need to learn? Right? Excellent journaling exercise. I do it with my clairvoyance because I really like characters and role play and my guides showing me each and every one. That helps me to remember the message as well. So if I can remember anger as a character or a person with a certain personality type, when they show up, it's almost like that person has knocked on my door. Anger bursts in, right? You don't even need to say, come on in. It bursts in and you think, oh, here we go again. Mucks up your house, throws your chair around, doesn't want the tea, throws it in your face. But that's what its energy is. Sadness comes in with a very different personality and message. So that's the way that I can work with them as if they were my loved ones that had a characteristic, and I still deeply respect them. So if we can honor that part, we can properly adapt to ebbs and flows, right? The waves in the background say that we need to engage our adaptability, our ability to pivot and adjust to whatever life is throwing at us right now. So they're not calm seas. It's not smooth sailing. It's actually, let's just remain ready for ups and downs. And this is what the emotions bring. So I know there's a lot of belief systems out there around emotions being bad, and emotional people seeming to be quite weak or vulnerable, something like that. But the strongest people I know are the ones that move and adapt with their emotions without needing to become them. So, and this took me a long time to practice because I really did believe that there was a whole bunch that I thought were really interesting in the emotional field and a whole bunch that I never wanted to go near. and I just couldn't fathom, because I labeled them as that's destructive, that's bad for you, that's bad for the body, that one, well, we can't go there. But having this purely inquisitive adaptability with it says, well, it's kind of inconvenient that anger's shown up, but I know that there's a lot of change happening, and I know that it's going to create movement, and maybe that's what I need right now. And sadness is disabling. It slows us down. It makes us lifeless, but there's so much beauty in it at the same time. And if you really engage your intuition, you'll see that they drop in at just the right moment. They interrupt patterns that were unsustainable anyway. They have a deeper thought form and knowledge base than any other mind program. So when you're processing something, when you're trying to integrate something, it's really your emotions that tell you how deep and far into it you're going to go. And I like it when those emotions are surprising. So you reach an achievement, you think you're going to be elated or proud, but in fact you're sad. And you think, hang on a second, that's not the dopamine I was depending on. But maybe the sadness tells you that achievement has now caused a version of you to die off. So you're actually sad and in grief with the person that is now changing. That's really cool. I think that's got so much more depth to it, to just, I did the thing and the thing made me feel good, right? So it is the ultimate in ego hacking, which I really, really like. If we can know who's knocking on the door, let them in, have a cup of tea, and really figure out why they're there, they shouldn't last too long, and they shouldn't cause any problems in the body, because it's only repressed emotions that cause problems in the body. You can actually feel the same emotions move through fairly efficiently. It's repression that creates the acidity and turns into lumps and bumps and disease processes. But if you experience emotions as, I don't like the word pure, but as purely as we can, as close to the frequency match as we can, without holding, judging, keeping it in, all of that sort of stuff, that's very, very good for the body, right? Expressing emotions, so good for us. Yeah, in empowering ways. So it's not like forcefully going out and crying in public all the time, but it's, if I feel deep sadness in a public place and I want to release it from my body so I don't have to hold on to it even for later, then I make a decision to just let it out there and then, or think about the time frame, because the emotion is trying to speak to me then, not when I get home, not when it's convenient, not when I make time. That's that adaptability part. So if we can let them in, express them, and have enough space and confidence in ourselves to do so, then Nine of Cups is a place where we can look at, there's got to be something in this about, that's a whole lot of progress and a whole lot of self-responsibility and self-acceptance that we can really look into and acknowledge, which says, if I can master that emotional plane, which means my emotions don't control me and I don't control my emotions, we're actually in this really cool place of like working together, collaborating, because there's always a link between the mind and the body and the spirit that I'm just so interested in. And the emotions seem to move in between all multidimensional places. It's like they're coded with all of this other stuff. Whereas a lot of people put them below the mind. They say my mind is far more superior to than these petty emotions. I actually put them right even. Actually, sometimes the emotions are far more wise, powerful, and can bring so much more juicy knowledge than what the mind can comprehend, maybe until later. So the mind sort of keeps up sluggishly afterwards. So if you go into a therapeutic space and you talk about an event that happened that triggered you, or you had an activation or a contraction, whatever language you're using, and you can remember that there was a very interesting emotional plane there. It's like in hindsight, your brain can put the information together, but generally in the moment, the mind's like, I got no idea why this is showing up. I really don't. It's not what I expected. Ego's like, I don't know. If we can reduce the chatter, so the ego will say, we shouldn't be feeling this and this is ridiculous, and rah, rah, rah. But if the ego's taking a step back and we're witnessing the emotion being like, this is very interesting, you actually come into a beautiful place of self-resonance and power, I believe. Congratulate yourself, because it's a beautiful place to be. If the emotions can move through your body, then you're clearing old events, situations, environments, thought programs, belief systems that don't serve you. And it should make a change in your body. When people show up and ask me for help and they've got quite a few stubborn chronic conditions, and I say, well, we're going to have to get these emotions out somehow. But because you've stashed them for so long, when we start releasing them, I want you to get used to it. So if you're used to bundling them all up, stashing them in your body and just having a general negative tone, then we need to get them all out so you can experience what the freedom and bliss in your body is like, of cells that don't need to hold and shield you from so many things. That's where the work begins. But if you're following this emotional regulation protocol, if you will, please be proud of yourself, pat yourself on the back. That's a really cool place to be coming in from. And if you're really feeling your feelings, then that takes incredible courage. And I think that should be commended. And then we can get to, great. So you're letting your feelings in, you're adapting to the situations, you're witnessing your experience rather than everything happening to you, which means you're probably free of the victim archetype, which is probably the most stubborn thing that I've ever had to work with in other people. Realize how far you've come and how much you've built a support system of sustainable self-worth around you so that you can move into the magician phase, which is, what do you want? Universe will back you up. Magician says you've got everything you need, but we need a plan, right? We need the earthly component of, I want to get from here to here. What are my steps to get there? How dedicated am I? How am I going to use my resources, right? Because the magician is not say the words and it's there. It's really, for sure, your guides are listening and they want to know that your plan has a dedicated service to it, which means you're willing to get yourself there, then we'll back you full force. It's usually a card that shows up when my guides are like, we're ready. We can feel you're about to go somewhere new and we want to hear it so that we know exactly where we're going and we know that you'll put in the steps. And then it becomes a collaborative effect, right? So it's, I'm willing to do the 3D part because I'm the one in incarnation in the physical form. And I expect you guys to do the other stuff. And then I give them permission to get in the way if my intention is misaligned or if I'm not seeing a parameter that I need to see. But I know that I have to put in the effort, I have to put in the work, and they'll back me. And they'll clear a path if the pathway feels good. So that's usually when I'm seeing a blinking light and they say, right, your resources are set, you're good to go, but where are we going? And often that card shows up when, what is the right word for that feeling? When I know where I want to go, but I haven't voiced it with very clear language out to them. They're looking for the material, physical actions around what I'm willing to do to materialize that. So when you're in dreaming phase, you're like, I'd love to do this one day. And you talk to people, I'd love to do that. I wonder how people do that. Maybe done some research. When this card shows up, they say, all right, are we doing it or what? And then I think, oh, okay, I really have to walk my talk here. I say, okay, if we're going to do it, these are my intentions. This is what I'm willing to do. This is the part that I can't see. These are the offerings I'm willing to make. This is my dedication to the rituals and to the other stuff. And if it's aligned with my highest good and the highest intentions of the universe, aligned with unconditional love and all of those things, then let it be, clear the way. Thank you very much. If it's not, please get in the way and give me a definite sign that I need to reevaluate that the plan has either now gotten bigger or I could do better with my intentions. So we need to checkmate on, does this serve me as well as my highest intentions? Does it vibrate to love? Reminds me of something one of my mentors says is, he doesn't sit and ask the spirits for more money, but he talks to the spirits about what he would do with the money so that they know that those resources are needed and aligned for good intentions, good deeds, let's say. So if I sit here and say, I want success, I want wealth, I want all the things, they go, great, what are you going to do with it? Then I have to sit in, okay, if I get all those things, my highest intention is to serve more people, to be a positive voice in the world, to be even more authentic, to updating my environment so I can be even more healthy, more well, so I can influence, whatever it is. They're looking for your dedication to, if they open that pathway, what are you going to do with it? So the magician comes in, yes, you have everything that you need, but how are you going to use it? And that's a real planning session. So when we come up to solstices and peak events, for you guys over there, you'll be opening up into like full harvest mode, which is full yang, full sun, full warmth, everything's at its peak. This is the manifestation of all of our dreams. For us in the Southern Hemisphere, we're going into the darkest moments. So the deepest parts of ourselves, the most introvert parts of ourselves, weaving and conjuring the deepest creative ideals around those underworld themes of, if I put in 6 months of work and dedication and creativity, what would I imagine is at its highest expression, which would be the peak of summer. For us in the winter, we're really going into like looking after ourselves. Full winter mode is stockpiling resources, making sure that kidney energy is consolidated night after night. We're not going out using all of our energy, expending all of our resources. That's more summer mode. And if you are in summer mode, you are living and breathing the work that you did in winter. That's physically and spiritually as well. So in Chinese med, we talk about look after yourself in winter, you'll reap the benefits in summer. Do all the right things in summer, your winter will be easier. If you don't look after yourself in winter, you'll probably have disease processes in spring. As the flowers come out, as the pollen hits the air, you'll probably have seasonal disorders. And if you haven't moved your body, experienced a lot of sunlight, been in a more social environment in summer, autumn will be really hard for you to consolidate down. So if you've spent your whole summer indoors, working on a computer, isolating yourself, and not eating very well, then winter will be too much of that energy. You see what I'm saying? So we consolidate and go inwards for winter. We stay quiet. We go close to the divine. We stick by the fire. We do all our conjuring work there. And in summer, we live and breathe our deepest intentions, which means we should have all the energy and all the yang and all the endurance to be up out into the world and be our fullest expression of that. And that's really to bank all the summer yang juiciness into our bodies so that winter is easier. I hope that makes sense. That's our Chinese medicine perspective, which I find really, really cool. We're going to do 3 shadow cards, my darlings. So on top of that story, again, whatever resonated, take it. Whatever didn't, just discard it, not a problem. There'll be parts that light up for you. And what a lot of our Patreon group members do is if there's a part that lights up for you, timestamp it in the comments, make a comment so you can go back to it and think and listen to it again when you feel you need that reminder. It also like lights up that timestamp for other people, and maybe you're all resonating on those perfect little bits. And I'd love to know what those timestamps are for you. Monkey. So part of our shadow aspects is, are you being distracted? Are there things that are not that important that you're spending a lot of your time with? Are you guided by the right forces? If you're distracted, look at what you might be avoiding. If you're getting lost in things that really aren't important, maybe other people's issues, maybe things that don't bank on your long-term self-worth goals, then just have a look at them and like reel that monkey energy in. So when monkey is on target, the light aspects are completely agile, completely work so well in a group, can swing through the treetops without a care in the world, plenty to eat, plenty of friends and family around, and they have so much fun. But erratic shadow monkey energy is spending a long time going around in circles, not actually doing much, right? So up there with the fairies, as they would say, too ungrounded, running around doing things that really don't matter. You need to ground yourself in, stop the distractions, and make sure that when those feelings show up at the door, you've got enough self-control and understanding to know to let them in. If those emotions unground you straight away, too many distractions, not enough anchoring going on. Peacock shows up, very strong psychic symbol, peacock, but please make sure you're within a code of your own ethics or values here. So it is a hard-hitting message, but don't use your psychic gifts for the wrong reason. Don't use it to turn people against each other. Don't use your psychic gifts to remote view into people's personal lives. Stay within your own values. Use your psychic gifts for getting you to servitude and unconditional love and helping humanity get there as well, right? Don't use it for low vibrational bullshit, because that has a repercussion in the universe, right? You don't want bad juju because you've decided to use your gifts in the wrong way, right? Hone in, redefine your values, understand what those gifts are about, and use them for the right reasons, right? Does this serve my highest intention for myself? Thank you, cockatoo. Very noisily agreeing. And lizard. So I don't know if I showed you the peacock card. Anyway, we got them both. Lizard talks about resilience, right? That's a traditional message, but the lizard energy, even though there's a hard exterior, there is a sense of kindness and compassion that is second to none. So yes, you can regenerate your tail if someone steps on it. Yes, you've got a hard exterior, but lizard shows the resilience and the strength that comes from being kind and compassionate always. So we talk about people that are thick-skinned, but are they thick-skinned whilst maintaining an open heart, or are they thick-skinned and bitter inside? If your thick skin has developed to the point where you're pissed off at everyone, it's not a win-win for me. Thick skin says, I am strong and resilient and assertive when I need to be. I can regenerate after any blow. But I must keep myself safe and secure within a loving frequency at all times. That's my responsibility, so that my thick skin is there for only when I need it. I don't go out into environments to prove to myself again that people suck and my thick skin gets thicker and inside I'm bitter. No. Lizard says thick skin, great. And that can be a psychic thick skin too. There is some people I notice they get attacked and psychically attacked all over again and again and again, but there's parts of them that are welcoming it in and they actually love it. So these two have a dual nature. There's a part of you that really loves being at war with other psychics or being in an attacking place or going to places where the energy is just not good. And you're developing a thick skin, which is great. But if you're still going into those environments and you're still welcoming out, there's a part of your ego that secretly loves it. And you're going to lower your vibration over time and you'll end up in a place where you just don't care anymore. So use your psychic gifts for the right reasons. Don't involve yourself in meddling with low vibrational stuff, right? Keep it to the most divine, highest intentions and do it with kindness. And sometimes the kindest thing you can say to yourself and other people is, I'm not using my gifts for something like that. Yeah. I'm not pulling cards for something like that. I'm not doing that to someone else. Please don't spell cast or curse or retaliate anything psychically. I teach my students just to dissolve it. That's it. You dissolve it and you work on your own love frequency. We don't send anything back because we don't actually understand the ramifications of sending it back. And I don't think we understand exactly where it comes from. So we don't want any kind of spiritual wars here. That is a distraction. It's not a good use of your gifts. Figure out why your gifts are there to unlock your own healing capacity to serve humanity. That's what we do at the core of shamanism, serve humanity and the environment. We are coded to nature. We are no more good, bad, or indifferent than nature is. We are not cruel. Nature doesn't do things to us, even though it feels like that at times. If there's been a cyclone outside or a tsunami or whatever it is, it feels like nature did it to you, but of course not. There is a natural order of things. So understanding that things are happening around us and we want to be in the most compassionate, highest place as possible so that our gifts can develop, always with the outcome of servitude, right? So I can serve humanity, so I can raise the vibration, not add to low vibrational stuff. So a bit of a hard-hitting truth there from spirit, but I think that will keep us anchored in the right lessons and learnings moving forward. Enjoy the solstice. I hope you have a wonderful one. Like the video and comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you're into it, and not if you're not, that's all good. And I will see you very soon for more. Much love. Happy solstice. Bye.